go, BCTVites. It's 5:45 p.m., which means it's time for BCTV's weekly media roundup. I'm tonight's host, Roland Boyden. The show, 5:45 Live. On deck for this Live from Gallery Walk edition, we'll talk about this week's tragic train accident, missing teens returned home, and a potential natural gas plant in Vernon. Plus, it being Gallery Walk weekend, it's packed to the brim with events. Our calendar will check in with that. All that and more in just 15 minutes, so stick with us right here on 5:45 Live. Welcome back to this November 6th, 2015 edition of 5:45 Live as we broadcast live from downtown for this Gallery Walk edition. That was footage there from last night's action against the Ku Klux Klan organized by the Roots Social Justice Center here in Brattleboro, which happened last night. Thanks to Esler Areste and Maria Dominguez for getting footage of that. Now, while it feels truly absurd to have to even address the notion of the KKK in this here year of 2015, they've been all over the news recently as the perhaps most notorious of all time brutal white supremacy group has been dominating recent headlines this past month and all through the summer, starting with KKK rallies in South Carolina to protest the removal of the Confederate flag in response to the brutal racial killings at the hands of a white supremacist at Charleston's Emmanuel African Methodist Episcopal Church. Followed by the hacktivist group Anonymous, posting a list of over 1,000 individuals with suspected ties to the KKK this week. And while the accuracy of that list, which does include some high-level politicians in Washington, has been called into question, the group states that, the group Anonymous, the hacktivist group states that their work identifying racist sympathizers of the KKK was not done simply through hacking private accounts, but also by meticulously cataloging racist material on social media sites like Facebook and Twitter, which are public for everyone to see. All right, with that, we're going to move on in the headlines, but if you want to see more from that protest, you can find Maria and Esler's footage. It'll show next week on BCTV Channel 8 or be available to stream at BrattleboroTV.org. All right, with that, time to move on in our headlines, and we've got a bunch from this week. We'll start with the tragic train accident in Brattleboro this week that killed local 26-year-old resident Nick Wadomski. Now, Wadomski, along with 22-year-old resident Harrison Johnson, were attempting to cross the railroad bridge that spans the West River where it meets the Connecticut when Amtrak's Vermonter passenger train surprised them on the span of bridge. And while according to authorities, the train's conductor initiated the train's emergency stop procedure, it was not enough to halt the train before striking Wadomski, who died of complications from the injuries at Brattleboro Memorial Hospital after being transported from the scene. Now, at this week's regularly scheduled Select Board meeting, members of the board spoke about the tragedy.
This is not the first time in the last 5 years that people have been injured or killed on the railroad tracks, and we want to please ask everybody to exercise caution and not to walk on the railroad tracks, please.
All right, moving on in the headlines. In completely separate cases, 2 area teens reported as missing persons have both returned home safely on their own this week. Brattleboro 9th grader Opal Robinson went without contact to her parents all the way from October 16th through October 23rd, following a night out at a Brattleboro party that led to an impromptu trip to Springfield. Brat PD Criminal Investigation Division's Lieutenant Mike Carrier posted a statement following her first post-missing persons report contact with her parents once she was returned, thanking everyone. His quote is, "Thanks everyone who helped in locating and assisting in her return." Meanwhile, in Newfane, missing 14-year-old Donovan Hamilton was also returned to his home safely after his parents alerted police that he had run away earlier in the week. Now, according to Vermont State Police, a Townsend resident called their barracks to alert them that Hamilton had been spotted in Townsend on Route 30, leading to the VSP finding and returning the teen. All right, now speaking of news stories coming in twos, we'll move on here. Totally different topic, but again, we've got a pair of headlines as the Brattleboro Retreat and Brooks Memorial Library both announced new replacements to the head of their organizations this week, with the Retreat president and CEO Rob Simpson stepping down to make way for New Yorker Louis Josephson, the one-time director of Vista Del Mar Child and Family Services. While down Main Street, Brooks Memorial Library announced that Star Electronica would be longtime BMLer Jerry Carboni's successor at the helm of the library.
Star Electronica has accepted our offer of employment, and she will be starting as the director of the library on January 19th. Really a well-qualified candidate, somebody who has spent a lot of time in Brattleboro actually over the years with her husband visiting personally, and is very excited about having the opportunity to move here and become our library director, and we're equally excited to have that happen.
Next up, moving south to Vernon, the town's planning commission is set to host an open forum next Tuesday night to discuss the possibility of bringing natural gas to Vernon, as talks to route a proposed pipeline through the area to the current Vermont Yankee site for processing have come up in recent weeks, and the subsequent revenues it could bring the town are something that's of interest to the planning commission, including member Patty O'Donnell.
We will do a presentation. We'll have a PowerPoint presentation, and we'll explain where we've been, what information we have found out, and where we will go from here. And then it'll be up to the community to decide.
Now, that Planning Commission public forum on a proposed plan to route some natural gas through Vernon is scheduled for this coming Tuesday, 6:30 p.m. at the Vernon Elementary School. And speaking of Vernon, high turnover rates continue on their 5-member board, as this week member Mike Quartermanch announced he would be stepping down from the select board and all other town committees he serves on. Quartermanch was elected to the board this spring, and in a twist, Jeff Dunkley, who stepped down from the board following Patty O'Donnell's resignation earlier this spring as well, was appointed to fill Mike's vacated seat until an election can be held this coming spring at town meeting. All right, with that, it's time to launch into our BCTV video calendar. This is all sponsored by the Brattleboro Savings and Loan, as their generous contributions to BCTV each year help fund a weekly look at area upcoming events. And it being Gallery Walk, there is much going on tonight. It is worth mentioning that Gallery Walk has its own website, gallerywalk.com, where you can check out all of the listings for events in the downtown region and beyond, out Westby, out Putney Road. There's quite a bit happening tonight. And we're going to start by talking about the second weekend of the Brattleboro Film Festival. They've been running, they kicked off last weekend and have been running with a series of films all through the week. They also have a bunch of special events coming up. And for more, we're going to send it across town to the Latches, where BCTV intern and hardworking 545 Live writer and co-host Abby Sherlock is standing by with more.
The Brattleboro Film Festival gears up for its second weekend of films starting tonight. The festival began last weekend, October 30th, and will run through November 8th. The festival is showing a variety of films with short and feature-length dramas, comedies, musicals, and documentaries. Tonight, the films shown will be the documentary Packed in a Trunk, The Lost Art of Edith Lake Wilkinson, the German documentary Before the Last Curtain Falls, and the short documentary Art of Christine Tribert, which will have a post-screening reception featuring the artist and her works. The festival will continue through this Sunday, November 8th.
All right, Abby, thanks again. That website, BrattleboroFilmFestival.org, if you want to see their complete schedule, see what special events, including their Best in Fest, where they show films that those who've watched this year's films vote on, get to vote and pick your favorite, becomes the Best in Fest set. And that's coming up this weekend as well. Now, speaking of things going on today, the Commons get set for the next round of their Voices Live. This is a continuation of a discussion on homelessness that began at the Works earlier this year. There have been 3 of those meetings on homelessness. They've combined it with the Commons Voices Live panel. It's actually beginning now as we speak. There was a 5 p.m. meetup at First Baptist Church on Main Street, and in just a few short minutes at 6 p.m., they're going to kick the official panel off with Steve West emceeing, the Commons Olga Peters moderating, and panelists Kevin Reagan, who's a Groundworks client, Senator Becca Balint from Windham County, Brattleboro Housing Partnership Executive Director Chris Hart, and Executive Director of the Groundworks Collaborative, Josh Davis. And BCTV will be there to cover it, so you can take a look at that panel, or it's open to the public, so you can stop by First Baptist Church and check it out. Again, it starts just a few short minutes at 6 p.m. And before we say adieu to this year edition of the calendar, there is much, much more going on this weekend. Again, you can find out more. We like to use the calendar at ibrattleboro.com, ibrattleboro.com/calendar, to take a look at area upcoming events. The Chamber of Commerce also has a fantastic calendar for downtown items, and as mentioned previously, gallerywalk.com also has the listings for all the Gallery Walk related things. But before we leave the calendar for good, we're going to jump ahead all the way to next Thursday as the West Brattleboro Association will hold their monthly meeting. That's going to be on November 12th at the home of Tom and Cecil French at 123 Juniper Ridge Road off South Street. It'll begin at 5:30 p.m. with a potluck, and it'll be followed at 6 p.m. with the meeting. So if you want to come for the potluck, bring food or drink, and then you can come for the meeting and discuss what's going on in West Brattleboro. All right, time to move on and check in with the weather. This is all courtesy of the high school's morning news advisory broadcast crew, BUHS TV. What's this weekend's weather look like, guys?
On Saturday, we have a high of 54 and low of 35. Sunday, we have a high of 49, low of 29. And on Monday, we have a high of 56 and a low of 29. Back to the desk.
All right, that does it for another edition of 545 Live. I'm going to head out and enjoy Gallery Walk myself. It'll be going on through the rest of the evening, so come down to downtown Brattleboro and check it out if you are so inclined. In the meantime, be sure to check in with us next week at 5:45 p.m. Eastern Time right here on BCTV Comcast Channel 8. In the meantime, thanks for watching.